Welcome to the MWA podcast. I'm Kyle, and joining me today are my co-hosts, Sean and Brian. Today, we're excited to welcome back Jason Gallagher as our guest. Jason is a talented chairmaker, instructor, and now a toolmaker. He's located in beautiful Northern California, should I say. And Jason's been on several of our episodes. I think his first interview was on episode 311. Then he's been on 468, and then most recently 525. So welcome back to the show, Jason.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Getting close to that 5 timers jacket. Just saying.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
right. Do I get a pin or something?
But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to have you back, and we want to talk about your new Travisher. But before we get to that, let's give our patrons a shout out. So who do we have to thank this week?
For sure. You know, we like to give our shout out to our Patreon supporters today. We're giving that big old shout out to our friend Blake Laurie. What a guy Blake is. As we record this, I know he's down in the Wood Whisperer area of the country, but good guy. If you don't know him, find him. He helps us help support us. And if you would like to also support us, you can go to patreon.com/MWA podcast and help us out there.
Yeah, I figured since Jason was on the show, we got to give his friend Blake a shout out.
So.
Yeah.
I heard he's made a chair or two. Yeah.
One or two.
Just one or two.
100.
He had this little reel of one of his guys assembling one of those Ember chairs, the undercarriage. I was just like, yeah, he's done it a time or two. It's like boom, boom, boom.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Well, before we get into what's in the shop, let's dip our toes in the woodworking news. So first off, Jeremy Wright, longtime friend of the show, sent in something from Fireball Tool. Fireball Tool is known mainly for their metalworking fixtures and whatnot. They sell a bunch of different stuff for metalworking, but one of the things they do sell is clamps. And they came out with this new clamp that would probably be pretty good for woodworking. And it's basically kind of like, I guess you would say, your standard pipe clamp, except instead of using a pipe, it uses a 2x4.
Mm-hmm.
So easily available. And, you know, if you need an 8-foot clamp, then get you an 8-foot 2x4.
8-foot 2x4. Exactly.
So, and it's pretty good. It's pretty reasonable. It's $48. That includes the clamping mechanism as well as I guess the head of the clamp. And what's also interesting about this is you can remove the screw from the clamp as well as the pad. The pad just snaps off, and you can have a nice little compact storage clamp. So you could, you know, if it's not something you're using every day, it'd be easy, super easy to just store in a toolbox or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty interesting thing. And there's also a little video that goes with it. They did a little YouTube short that shows all about it, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, the video is neat. It's, you know, it's basically like a it's not quite a cam action, but it's like it just locks in by canting, I guess.
Yeah.
He flipped it around and grabbed a framed wall, or what was supposed to be a framed wall, and then used the pad to lift the wall off the ground.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a neat use. You know, if being that compact, you know, it'd be nice for framers.
Sure.
Yeah.
For
You
sure.
gotta lift something up. Yeah.
And in operation, it acts like an F style when it's all together. It's like an F style clamp where the 2x4 is going to bend in tension as it's forcing down, kind of holding it together. It's kind of spreading it in one certain way. The way that those little pawls, the frame of it is kind of cammed in there, like you said, Brian. It's really interesting. And again, I've watched this guy I mentioned before. You know, he lists on here the clamping force. You know, it can put 250 pounds of force in one direction. You know, 500 in another, depending on if you're spreading or squeezing. That's what he trust me. Like if they make this, it is well thought of, well designed. Probably you could ride a Mack truck over it and it's not going to fall apart. You know, they're serious. And for less than $50, this and a 2x4 makes you have a really long clamp. You know, really, again, metalwork, woodwork. There's a thing here, or framing. You know, Brian, great example. Pretty cool, pretty darn cool.
Yep, it is. And thanks for so much, Jeremy, for sending this to us. Really appreciate that. And dear listener, if you have anything that we might be interested in, feel free to, you know, drop us a line and let us know about that. So moving on, you know, talking about tools would not be complete without a stop over at Woodpecker. So here we are. And they have a new folding saddle square. which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a saddle square with a hinge on it, and it looks like a milled side to it, so it would be very accurate. And so you can, use it as a saddle square for things like octagon boxes or other things that are not quote unquote square. So I don't know. It seems pretty neat. I don't know if I have a use case for one, but I don't know. Pretty neat.
I'm trying to think. It folds in the way it folds.
Yep.
It works on things that are coplanar on their edges.
Mhm.
If this was a slanted joint,
Right.
it would not work because it would be only touching one side because it bends very directly in 90 degrees. You know, so it's I'm not saying it's flat stock. Think of a box, but they show an example of an octagon.
Yeah, a mitered
it works
box,
on that,
yeah.
or but a mitered, yeah. So it very interesting. It's again, I don't know if I would use it, but I can see the use for sure. It's a saddle square,
Yeah,
with variability.
yeah. It's one of those things you just kind of look at and go, yes, I have a use for this, or no,
Or
I
you
don't have a
don't.
use
Yeah,
for
you know
this.
right away. Like I've tried to mark and measure in that way. That would work.
Mhm.
or I don't know if I need that. As goes sometimes their tool. Sometimes.
Yes, yes. And of course, Woodpeckers within the last week has also released some new drill bit. Some new router bit or something like that. I would be real curious if any of our listeners could give us some feedback on whether they've used any of the Woodpeckers router bits or their saw blades, for like table saw or something. Be really interested to see what they think, because they seem to be, looking at them, they seem to be a decent quality and pretty decent price too, compared to, like your typical white side or something like that out there. So
I'm surprised if there's not somebody who's side by sided some of their products with something.
Oh yeah,
If not now, soon.
Exactly. What the hell? Let's move on to what's in the shop. So Sean, what are you working on?
Nothing much. How about you? No, but seriously, nothing much. But the weather is finally breaking. Spring almost got here. So I've had one trip to the driving range. So golf it's happening.
Yeah.
My kid's calling off half a Friday to go out with his buddy from work. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to be 70 in March. That doesn't happen where we are.
Well, it was almost 80 degrees here, but the wind was going about 80 miles an hour too. So it wouldn't be good for golf.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends which direction you're.
This is true.
That is true.
Set it high and let it fly. Gone. No. How about you, Brian? What's up with you?
My wife got a new job.
She's
gonna start in April, and she's gonna be working from home about 90% of the time.
Okay.
So she's like, we got to do something about my office. So
what job? She was a teacher before, right?
yeah, she still is. She's gonna be teaching cyber school.
Okay.
Here in Pennsylvania. She would have to go on site 1 week a month. So 80-90% of the time she'll be remote. Thankfully, I'm remote as well, mostly, and I'll be in the basement. She'll be in the third floor. So it's going to work out great. But the
he's secretly telling himself.
Yeah. So the loft that she wants to use, it's just nothing special. It had just 2 can lights in it. It's rectangle shaped. Had a massive closet along the long end of one of the rectangles that kind of follows the roof pitch. And she's like, you got to put more lights in and all that stuff. And then the intrusive thoughts got in my brain. So I'm sitting in there and I'm like, do you really need a 16-foot long closet?
No.
I'm like, why don't we just cut this here, at the door jamb, on the right side of the door jamb, and knock out the wall on the right, to give you like, it's almost 4.5 feet deep, 6 feet wide, almost 8 feet high. I'm like, you make a little reading nook, right? And some built-in bookshelves and stuff. So that led to, now we're going to rip out the floor. The lights are in. It's much brighter. Right before I came down here to record, I was sanding, I think, the last coat of drywall for the old cans. And then I Pinterest is the bane of my existence, because she comes up with this arch, beautiful bookcase for along the back wall. So I'm like, oh my God. So, I mean, I've done a lot of cabinet work, but I've never done like architectural millwork. So now I got to figure out how to do, and I like to use I hate MDF moldings and stuff. So I'm like, how am I going to make like out of poplar or something, to match that arch and the arch itself. So I'm like, do I want to do laminated and everything? And so it's just one thing after another. And she's hounding me because she's like, it's got to be done. So we'll see. We'll see. And I was in the attic. There's my house has the roof pitches go all over the place, and in the attic it's like a labyrinth of joists and rafters and everything. And the lights that are on the far side, the roof comes down to them, but there's like a gap of maybe like, I don't know, 18 inches. I almost pulled like a Winnie the Pooh and got stuck trying to get to wire the new lights in on the far end of
Oh boy.
and I'm like, and there's nobody home. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die up here I'm gonna liquefy in my attic. And so I'm like, I basically, the new LED things there's like a 3 or 4 inch box, right? Tiny box with a little wire lead to it, and then the puck kind of thing that goes in the ceiling. So I just wired it in, and I had to like throw it at the hole because there's no way I was going to fit up there and get back out. So
The trick is letting go of the Pringle to get your hand out of the.
Yeah.
You gotta let go and then come back out there.
yeah. So and I'm like, there's no way I can get over there at all. I mean, those guys, the electricians were in there obviously before the drywall was, and that's how they did it. And I'm like, so it's like, oh my God. And yeah, so now I just have to pull a little bit of wire. We're gonna add a second switch because we're gonna do sconces and some lights behind the arches to light up the bookcases and everything. It should look really nice, but I'm like, and I had like Matt Cremona's voice in the back of my head. I'm like, do I want to make my own floor? So I'm like, how hard could that be, right? So our floors downstairs are pretty wide. They're like 8 to 10 inch wide planks. I think they're Southern Yellow Pine. They're beautiful grain patterns in them. We had them redone a number of years ago, and they're gorgeous. They're soft, which is unfortunate, but she wants me to try and duplicate that upstairs so it looks uniform. So we'll see. Yeah, but I don't know if anybody saw that. Well, the story that I put up on the day we recorded this, I cut a bunch of holes in the wall that I'm going to be taking out.
Okay, I was like, what the hell was that?
Oh, and I needed to gauge because I used a rotozip with a circle cutter on it.
Sure.
And I needed 4 1/4 inch holes. So I wanted to get this exactly. So I'm like, I got to take this wall out anyway. So let me practice on the wall. So I finally got that straight. And then I'm like looking at the ceiling. I'm like, well, now I need 2 6.5 inch discs to basically plug that holes where the existing pans are.
Oh, okay.
So that's where all the holes are. But the last hole I cut, that drywall router bit sheared off.
Mm-hmm.
Almost crap my pants because because I heard it banging in the wall, and now it's dropped into the vertical wall. It's not open yet, and I know it's hot because this is like the 10th or 12th hole I cut. And I'm like, oh my God, the house is going to catch on fire. So ran downstairs. I got the magnetic thing that I use every time I drop the arbor nut in the table saw.
Yeah.
And I got that, and I ran back upstairs and shoved it in the wall until I grabbed the bit and brought it up, and thankfully everything was fine. But I was like,
good.
oh my God, she would never let me down if the wall caught on fire.
That's one way of removing it.
Yeah. So you're going to see me struggling figuring out how to do curved moldings they're like flat and curved. So along, so not the easy way, the hard way.
Yeah. So when's your
multiple wide pieces that you can take big hunks out of that curve and then joint them?
I thought about that.
Yep, that's how you do it. Grain matching is nearly impossible, but
it's gonna be painted.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how they really do it. You get a 1x12 and cut a 3-inch radius arc out of it. You can get a lot of movement through that gap, and just do as much as you can, and then do it again. The CNC would be your absolute friend.
Yeah, I mean, the mold. These are very similar style moldings to what I did in the laundry room. There's, the baseboards are very high, like 8+ inches high, and I just, I took the Lee Nielsen, I guess a scribe tool for lack of a better thing, and put a nice bead along the edge. So the top and bottom, so it's got a little bit of detail to it, but it's fairly farmhousey. That's about the best way to describe it. So that's gonna be the same style here. It should, if what's in my brain translates out, it should look nice. So we'll see.
Cool. So when does this have to be done by?
Her last day is April 3rd at the current job, and I think she starts the week after. I said you were not going to have a floor. Just here's some slippers. But you should have most of everything else. but I have a little bit of travel to work to do. I'm probably changing jobs as well. The kids' sports season started up. So I'm like, so every day I'm up there doing something.
Yeah.
And so
that's going to be weekends when you got them. Going to be long days.
Yeah.
Progress because you don't have much time.
Nope. It'll be cool. So keep an eye on Instagram.
Oh, can't wait.
Kyle,
All
how
right.
about you?
Well, nothing as exciting as what you're up to. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I just I came up with I guess what I call a proof of concept of a new jig I'm doing. I think I mentioned this before on the podcast, but I'm pretty much almost done. And this is a stretcher drilling guide. So it's basically the one I have now is for tapered mortises, and it basically what this jig does is it replaces the leg in your seat blank so that you can then drill the mortise. It's got a rod end bearing and stuff like that. People that follow me have seen this jig. It's the first one I developed. And I've been for years getting requests for people going, hey, do you have something like that for a straight mortise or whatnot? And I'm like, it's real hard to develop one of those for a straight mortise because everyone's 1-inch drill bit is different. There's going to be different sizes. Some are going to be, a couple of thou undersized. Some are going to be a couple of thou oversized. So it's not something you can put in there. And then, I've had many people say, well, can you put just a real slight taper? Well, that thing's still going to wiggle even with a slight taper. So that's going to put you off. So I was able to find these things called, and I'd seen them before, and it just occurred to me, would this work? It's called a tube end weld nut. And it's made to basically put a threaded end of a tube. You just put this nut and you weld it into place, and it's a threaded nut. And they make them in all different types of shapes, but one of them is kind of conical. And anyway, I looked at a bunch of them, and there was one that was just a little bit. I think it's like 0.995 of the outside diameter of the piece that fits into the tube. So it's made to go into a tube that's 1 inch inside diameter. And that seemed to work fine. And then I can use another one underneath of it, and that rides up the threaded rod, so it kind of pinches between the top of the seat and the bottom of the seat. But I can use a conical side for underneath, and the cylinder side that would fit in that tube. I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this, I think. But anyway,
no.
But that fits into the leg hole on the bottom of the seat, so that kind of keeps everything within that leg hole, and then the other one from underneath. Now, do I like that you have to have two nuts that kind of pinch together between the seat on a threaded rod? It's not the best solution, but it's the only one I could come up with that seemed to work and was pretty user friendly and things of that nature. I looked at all kinds, and you should see my orders to Amazon, McMaster-Carr, Ranger, whatnot, looking for all these 1-inch type things that would work and all this. The closest I got was this part that they use for bicycles. So it goes into the tubes of like handlebars. And it spreads and locks into place and has a little jacket.
The old style headset. It's a split nut that cams when you tighten it.
That was really finicky to get to tighten. And then the other part was the center of it always moved around. So it wasn't completely staying in the round and concentric when it expanded. So it's just like, darn it. I thought that might have solved my problem, because I wanted something that would just work from the top of your seat. Well, actually you're doing this from the bottom of the seat, but work without you having to get underneath and do it. But I think I got a solution for that that's pretty good, and those are still some of the little details I'm working out. The next thing I got to do is come up with some sort of fixture that would probably be off the seat that would help you drill into the side of stretchers for like an H stretcher undercarriage and stuff like that. So I got to come up with a solution for that, but that should be pretty simple. But as soon as that gets done, I need to ship this off to couple of chair makers so that they can give some real world tests to it. And then if this works, I will sell it for should be fairly reasonable. I'm going to add some creature comforts to it, but I'm also going to let you know what all the hardware stuff I have too. So if you want to make your own, you can. So because it's
Oh, very sweet.
it's a strictly hardware off the shelf type thing. So just, but if you want one that's, made and already, ready to go and has a couple of little creature comforts that you might not have thought of, then be happy to sell it to you. So anyway,
nice.
Anyway, but so that's kind of what I've been working on. Besides that, I've filled a hole in my yard. So there's my house duties. So, oh, I got this, living on the water, we have a bulkhead. And unfortunately, my lot has a drainage ditch that runs from the median in front of my house all the way to our canal. And it's a constant thing ever since I moved here. That drainage ditch has got I think I've heard it's got a crack in it or something like that. And it, roads out right at where my bulkhead meets the water. So it's just like about every 2 years, I got to go in there and fill the hole up. So anyway, it's a mess. I've complained with our city. The city says it's the water department's fault. The water department says it's the city's fault. So anyway, but it's been a good 5 years for a complaint. So maybe I should do that again. But it's like, every 2 to 4 years, I got to wait till this time of year when we have extremely low tides. And then I can go in there and fill everything in with, filled it in with big rocks, then little rocks, then sand, and then covered it up with topsoil.
What about like up here in the Northeast? They use like almost like caged stone. It's like heavy duty wire mesh that they just fill with gravel and then they shove that so it doesn't like wash out, and they kind of shove it in there with that.
Yeah,
that might be something to consider.
Yeah, it sounds expensive. This cost me like $40.
Oh, well.
It'll last for like 2 to 5 years.
I mean, do your cost analysis. See if this is the worthwhile thing. Maybe the once for longer is
time is money.
option. Time is money. That's very true.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the only thing I've been doing. So anyway, but I know someone that's been extremely busy. So Jason, what have you been up to in your shop?
Well, I was just out there a little bit ago. I've got a stack of Travisher bodies that I'm working through. There's a couple of chair things I need to finish up, some parts of a student friend now who's making a solid walnut Velda rocker. So we're kind of working through that bit by bit. It should be pretty sweet. Turnings to do for upcoming classes and, the usual fun stuff on top of everything else going on in the property, because we have 20 acres out here. So there's always burn piles and drainage ditches to clear out and whatever.
Nice. So never a dull moment there at the
never.
Gallagher household. Yes.
Nope.
Well, tell us about this Travisher, the Element Travisher.
Yeah. So let me think where to start with this. Actually, you mentioned Blake earlier. He was kind of one of the people that early on I was like, you think this could maybe do something? Like, you think I could maybe actually make something here and sell it? And he's like, oh yeah, there's definitely a demand, because I didn't really realize that there was so much demand for Travishers out there right now. I've talked to many people and said, they've been on wait lists for 3, 4, 5 years to get Travishers. And it's like, wow, because I'm not really in that world too much of buying chair making tools. I've got kind of what I use and I don't really need much more. So I decided that I'd go for it. And it was like most of my chair making stuff. It all kind of started with Curtis Buchanan back in the day.
Right.
Watching one of his videos, he had this. He used to use these little, I think they call them a heel shave, which is like a leatherworking tool for thinning out the heels of boots and stuff. And he'd also mentioned that you could take a spoke shave and just grind like a curved profile on it and make that kind of a hoopty Travisher. And so that's what I started with years ago, was just an old, what's that brand, that green brand? It's like Cross or something.
Grows? Oh, yeah, Grows or something.
Yeah.
GROZ, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you used to be able to get like a curved and a flat for like $35, like a 2-pack. So I took one of those and just gave it a radius in a couple of directions, and it was real crude, but it worked. And I used that for a long time. But you quickly realize that it's just like it destroyed my fingertips and forearms, because it was just all finger.
Yeah, all right there.
Yeah. Just it was only fingertip engagement. So after that, I made a couple more. Well, that one I started. It's a Frankenstein looking tool at this point, but I started clamping on a whole bunch of pieces of wood and screwing things on here and there to try to be able to get a grip on it and make it more comfortable. And it helped a little bit. but I decided that I was going to make something a little better. So then I made another one from an old plane blade and just a chunk of walnut I had lying around, and that worked pretty well. And so then, had those kind of used for a little bit. And then a couple of years go by and talked to Blake, and I decided, okay, I need to actually I've been thinking about these tools, making these tools, kind of had an idea of what I liked and what I wanted to go for. So I just decided to actually invest some time and do it,
Well, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, I'm sitting here on your website looking at the tool, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I love the curve to it and things of that nature. And yeah, you really knocked yourself out there. And I'm sure you're regretting some of those design choices. But anyway. So I'm sitting there going, there's a lot of work into that tool.
Yeah.
How wide is the I'm sorry, how wide is the body? Like when you grab it?
Between your hands.
Yeah, between your hands. Like I understand this, but like when you
like the pinch grip on it.
Squeeze the Sherman.
You're talking 2 inches or?
Yeah, so the blanks, I messed with that. So at this point, I think I did I'm well over 20 different prototypes at this point. And they all were just like different variations on thicknesses and lengths and overall profiles and whatnot. So the blanks that they start out at about 2 1/8 in thickness, and they have sort of like an oval profile. So that 2 1/8 is kind of where your palm grips it, and then it thins down sort of where your fingertips will grip. So kind of the idea was something that I wanted you to kind of come up to the tool and it would just sort of suck right into your hands,
Yeah.
I've used James Murcell's Travisher for a long time, which is a great Travisher. And so I based some of the shape and the design kind of off that initially. I thought, okay, this is comfortable. I like what he's got here. But there's some things I wanted to tweak. So I kind of just sort of grabbed that Travisher and thought, okay, this position, this is what I'm going for. And so then I'd carve a chunk of wood out and I'd put a blade on it and be like, nah, it's not quite there. So then I'd carve another one and carve another one. And initially I kept going too small. It was just like everything was so small. And eventually I realized, okay, you need to make this stupid thing bigger. Come on. And I did that, and it started to really kind of, okay, I'm getting close. So many iterations. There's actually kind of a there's a lot of thought that goes into the shape of this thing. So on my Instagram channel, there's a bunch of videos that I've broken down some of the details and stuff. But one of the things that I realized was the angle of the sole. So if you look at the front of the tool here, like the face of the tool, the sole is actually cut at a 6-degree angle. And what that does is it kind of rolls that tool forward, because I realized that when it was too flat, it was creating, again, it was too much fingertip and it was too much wrist action. And so by rolling that tool forward, it kind of puts your arms into the correct position that you want to be, just sort of rolls you right in there. And then that top part of the tool also tucks a little better into your palm. So there was some of that, trying to figure out, okay,
so
what's
you're
the right angle.
when you're using the tool, you're more using your forearms and arms more than you are your wrists or your fingers or that.
Yeah. Well, with the Travisher, right? You definitely want to have your fingertips, that's your feedback. That's kind of where you can finesse your cuts and your depth of cut and all that jazz. But I wanted something with more palm contact so that it would take off a lot of the stress on your forearms and your fingers and just be more comfortable overall when you're just using it, So trying to get that balance of not taking too much away from the fingers and putting too much on the palm, and just kind of getting everything right, getting that, and then the other thing too is to make it look right, because there's a bunch of them that I made that just it's super comfy, but the thing is just ugly as sin. So that's not going to work,
There's that too.
Yeah. So just kind of balancing all those different elements of the design is, it's been challenging, but it's been a lot of fun. There's, I'm sure, I'm positive that I'll continue tweaking this thing. I kind of came to a point where I was like, okay, this is the final iteration. This, version 22 or whatever, this is it. And then I make a few, do the videos, get a bunch sold. And then next thing I'm out in the shop and I'm like, oh, maybe I should tweak this little thing. And I'm like, no, you idiot. You just stick to
it. You committed.
Right? No. Yeah, you'll have 4 or 5 iterations over the next, few years. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm
that's
sure.
what happens.
Right. Right.
You'll go, or the best case scenario is it doesn't change, but your process changes in making them, so it gets easier and quicker, and stuff like that. So what basically sets us apart from some of the others on the market? You mentioned James Marcel's Travishers, Claire Minihan has her types of Travishers that I think a bunch of different people make at this point in time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would say that the biggest difference with this Travisher is the blade itself. It's a bevel down versus a bevel up. So most Travishers have blades that are made from other tool makers or knife makers or whatever. Or sometimes I think some people who make Travishers actually bend and heat treat their own blades. And when I first started making these things years ago, I didn't know anything about heat treating or at all. So it was just like, okay, let me just figure out how to use what I have. And so I had a whole bunch of old plane blades, and so I started messing with those. And what I realized is that you can pretty much shape these blades like you would a scrub plane. So it's got a real heavy curve to it, and it effectively behaves the same way as the other types of Travishers. It cuts a little differently because now you have the edges of the blade are kind of sweeping back instead of it being all right there. So it's like the difference between using like an in-cannel gouge and I think it's an out cannel, right? Where the bevel's on the outside.
Right. Yeah.
But I realized that there's something to that, because just kind of watching on Instagram and hearing comments from different people, it seems like getting blades can be a little difficult. And some of the blades are shaped more to the body already. So once you've got your tool and your blade, if you wear through your blade, you've either got to make a new one or order another one and maybe do some reprofiling of the tool to get that done. But I kind of was like, okay, I want to shoot for a stock blade that you can pick up just about anywhere. So a Hawk or a Lee Nielsen. And these for this one, I contacted the Lee Nielsen guys, and so they're going to actually be providing their the blades for me for these. They're the Bog spoke shave blades, and I buy them from them, and then I grind the profile myself into them. So I wanted the blade to be available. People wanted to get a new one. And this kind of blade, it seems anyway, that people are more familiar with this and sharpening this type of blade now. One of the things that I've heard from people is on some of the other blades is that curved profile is difficult to hone and to sharpen.
You basically have to make your own jig for it and all that kind of sharpening jig for it.
Right, right. And if you're not doing that day in, day out, it can be a little bit difficult. And we all know what it's like when everybody's already putting off sharpening. Like that's just kind of what we all do. But if you're worried that well, if I pull this out and I sharpen it, I'm going to screw it up, and then it's going to be even harder for me to figure out how to get it back to where it works right. And so I just thought, man, a stock blade with a ground profile, like everybody's got a bench grinder, and if you screw up your Lee Nielsen blade or your Hawk blade, whatever you have, if you screw it up, $50 and you can have another one, and have it to you in a week. And I'll be including like a little template that has the profile for the grind for this for the Travisher. So if you need to regrind your tool, if you want to put a hollow grind or whatever it may be, or you're redoing a new blade, you'll have the profile in there if that's what you want to do. So yeah, that's the main difference is the bevel down orientation. One of the things that's kind of nice about that as well, though, is your mouth on the tool. So that is always going to stay consistent because you can slide the blade forward. So as you're grinding and removing material and you sharpen the blade moves. So you can just keep moving that blade forward. Whereas on some of the bevel down or the bevel ups, as you sharpen that blade, your mouth opening just gets wider and wider and wider. And because the blade is fixed, there's not really any way to tighten it up. And, that's not a huge thing, in my opinion, because, the Travisher is kind of a intermediary tool anyway. It's not like necessarily a finished tool, so you don't need a super tight mouth. But it is nice to be able to take some real fine wispy shavings if you want, and to be able to hog some material off. So that's kind of a cool little side effect, I guess, of having the bevel down orientation on the blade, is keeping that mouth consistent and tight.
Yeah, cool.
Very cool.
So one of the things that I think is really interesting on James Purcell's Travisher is you can really hog some material off with that thing. In fact, I have several different Travishers. I have a problem, but
we all do.
Yeah. I was just gonna say.
Yeah. But anyway, so I just have his set up for hogging material off, and I use that instead of a squirt. I just,
Yeah.
I just hog some. So what about this one? Do you have the option of, doing really thick cuts as well as some really fine cuts?
You can hog some pretty good material with this.
Yeah.
It doesn't, obviously the mouth is not as big as Mercel's. But you can hog some material. That's one. Joe Bass, the guy that did the Ember chair plans, and he's been on here several times. I sent one out to him, and I think that batch of Ember chairs he just made, I think he used this Element Travisher quite a bit, and he said he was able to really hog some stuff. So that was some good feedback, and I found the same. You can you're not going to be able to take as thick a cut as you can take with the Mercel Travisher. Like you said, you can almost eliminate the scorp with that Travisher, which is great, especially like students, like older folks and stuff. That scorp can be a real bear, and can require a little bit more strength to use it. So to be able to grab that Travisher and just hog stuff away is really nice. So I wouldn't say you'll get that level of material remover, but you can definitely take some thick cuts.
Okay, interesting. And so as far as feedback, so you mentioned you got some feedback from Joe. So who else have you sent this out? What has the feedback been so far?
It's been good. It's been good. I actually sent it out to Blake. I sent one to him. He had some students use it, and they used it a little bit. And I think it was a little, there's a little bit of a learning curve with this one because it's a Travisher, so it operates in pretty much the same way, but it's a little different than the others. And so some of them struggled a little bit, I think, at first. And then so I took some of that feedback and was like, okay, let me make some tweaks and adjustments and try to adjust to what they said. Joe's used it a lot, and he really likes it. I sent it out to so initially, kind of getting back to the blade, initially when I realized, like, man, I want to use the Lee Nielsen blade because, one, it just looks really clean and cool in here. Doesn't that Hawk blade's got that big channel missing down the center. And so the fact that you got the full blade on this Lee Nielsen, it just looks really sweet. But I got to thinking, I'm like, yeah, is that some kind of like, copyright infringement or license? Do I need to like, be concerned with making my own tool with their blades? So I contacted them, and they were very gracious and kind, and said, they said, yeah, we'll let you use it. And then I said, can I send you one? Because I'd love your feedback. So you don't get much better feedback than Lee Nielsen when it comes to hand tools.
No,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was good. I sent it out to them, and they gave me some great feedback, but really liked it. Said, we'll get you blades. So I'm trying to think who else I sent it to. Who did I send it to? I've had a number of students use it, and they really like it. Just coming through my classes, they really like it. Let's see.
Well, that's great to have students actually give you some feedback, because hey, they're new to the tool, and you can really get some interesting ideas from them, especially tweaks and stuff like that. It's just like, hey, seeing somebody new to it is somebody that's not, hey, I've been using a Travisher for 10 plus years. I know exactly how these things should work and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I definitely wanted, that was a big consideration is that it's user friendly for people who aren't making a lot of chairs, who will make, one or two chairs a year. They'll pick it up for a little bit and put it down, and they may not have the same muscle memory as as some of us. So I wanted beginners to be able to pick this tool up and have at it and have a good time. But like I said, with any tool, it's gonna take you, a few minutes probably to kind of figure out, okay, where's the sweet spot for the angle, and dialing it in your thickness of your cut and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely, that was a big consideration, is can a beginner pick up this tool and use it, and it's not a hindrance to them.
Yeah. Now, I think it's really interesting that the blade is something that's easily sharpenable by somebody, because I don't know, there's not another Travisher on the market that I'm aware of that uses a flat blade.
Yeah, I don't know of any. The only other person years ago, Caleb James, he made a prototype Travisher, and that was a blade I think he had custom made I think he's got a machinist, because I think he's got a machinist that makes the blades for his different spoke shaves and whatnot.
Right.
And I would guess that that's where he got that blade made. But it was a custom deal with these little like oval slots cut in it and everything. And it was a sweet little Travisher. I actually got to use it. It's sitting at Greg Pennington's shop, so I got to play with it there. Yeah, so I got to play with it there. Yeah, but I haven't seen any other Travishers that have a bevel down orientation on the blade. But like you said, it's so nice because we're all familiar with this style of spoke shave blade at this point. Like most of us have this type of spoke shave, and many of us who are tool nerds have a Bog spoke shave because it's just such a sweet spoke shave. And you can put a hollow grind on it if you want, if you're going to freehand sharpen it. I really like doing that. Like all my draw knives have a hollow grind. I just take them up to my bench grinder. But you get your little platform set at the right angle, and you can just easily grind that profile in and then take it over to your stones and sharpen away.
Well, that is so cool. So I'm sure everyone's wanting to know, how can I buy one and how much do they cost?
Yeah.
Where can I buy one and how much do they cost?
Yeah.
So right now I did an initial run of 20 on the pre-order. I think I have like 2 left. So if you want one, probably want to hop over there and get them. And I do plan to make another batch. But if you go to my website, which is followingthefibers.com, and you click the link, there's a button at the top for the store, and you can get the Travishers there. I have them priced at $380 right now, plus shipping and handling. So the international shipping, that's been so tricky. So what I was going to say, if there's international people that want to get one of these, just contact me directly, either on Instagram or my email, or give me a call, and we can figure out where I need to send it to, because it seems like there's going to be potential customs and taxes. And I was doing some reading about different importation restrictions that might apply. So I need to dive into that a little further, it seems. But if you're an international person and you want one, just let me know and contact me directly, and we'll see if we can figure something out. But yeah, head over to the followingthefibers.com and click the store button, and you can pick it up there. The price that I have now at $380, I might have to adjust it up a little bit. So,
well, I was about to say this is a pretty good deal at $380. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, it's like I wanted to get it out there and kind of see, put out some feelers, so to speak, and see what people thought. And you don't want to sticker shock people initially. So
Now, what are your plans in the future? Because I know you have classes and the 20 acres to take care of and all of this. Is this something that's going to be in constant production, or is it something you're going to just batch out once or a few times a year?
I'm thinking about doing batches, like again, maybe just like batches of 20, and then I just have kind of inventory sitting there, and when they're ready, you can have them. And then you may have to wait for the next go around. We'll just kind of see, I guess. It's still pretty new, and if all of a sudden I just get swamped with orders for these things, I might kind of pivot. And I was actually talking to messaging Caleb James a little bit ago to see if this is something he could make on that little duplicator lathe he has.
Yes.
Because that would be, if all of a sudden I had an order for 300 or whatever, it's like that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
So we'll see. But at this point, I'm probably just going to continue to do batches and just release them as I finish them.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to start doing. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do some kind of like special editions too. So I've got some wild like instrument grade Claro burl in the shop right now. My friend down in Sacramento is like a walnut guy. Yeah. So
this is like it's almost like a cutoff tool. Like you can take scrap from others.
Yes.
Oh, savage.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listeners, you can't see Brian's face right now.
You shouldn't have said that.
You shouldn't have said it.
But I think he's going to be sending
sucker for grain.
Yeah,
be sending Jason here a check here in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
PayPal. Do you take PayPal?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What do I have to do to reserve this?
Yeah. Just talk to me after the show. We'll figure it out.
That's a great idea. And not that you want to become a boutique maker, but that would just creep into that boutique side. Like great tool, functional, perfectly operable tool, then if you want a little bit of creature flair, just a little bit of something that your eye really loves,
Yeah.
a little premium to that, like
Yeah. Yeah,
Dr.
exactly.
Sauer and Steiner, they've been doing it for
Yeah,
for years.
exactly. Yeah.
Well-
and with my buddy down there, he's got, I mean, this walnut that he has is just incredible. Hunsky Hardwoods, if I can plug him. He's
Sure.
great. He and his father, I think his dad's been milling for like 30 years. And out here in California, the whole valley is just agriculture. So and there are times where they'll rip out 300 acres of these walnut orchards. And so they bring in these logs and just mill them up, and they have a big old barn, and he has just some of the most incredible walnuts you've ever seen. Claros and Bastones. He's got the English and Burls, and I mean, just incredible stuff. And he ships all over the country, and really nice guy. So I think it's going to be cool to be able to go, pick through his stash and see what we can find. And then I thought making like, maybe some of the fun California species like madrone, like you can't get it madrone anywhere else than the West Coast,
Right.
And madrone has like, especially if you get some of the right stuff, like madrone will go from this like cream color to these streaks of purple and red. I mean, it's amazing. So I thought, that'd be cool to do like some native species that you can't really get somewhere else. But like you said, a little pizzazz on a useful tool,
Yeah.
Is that kind because like there's no way I've even touched madrone in Northwest Ohio. Is that something that would have environmental problems? Would it move a ton, changing environment?
As far as I know, madrone, once it's dry, I believe it's very stable. I'd have to look at the charts. But madrone, when it's wet, it moves incredibly. Like it is one of the more difficult species, from what I understand, to get slabs to actually dry flat and straight. And there are guys who do it. Like there's a couple of sawyers that I know of there's one up in Humboldt County here in Northern California. They give a lot of material up to the Krenov School. They're right there in the Redwoods Forest. So they've got a lot of local species from the forest there, and they work with Krenov School. And they have the madrone stuff dialed in, from what I understand.
Oh, excellent.
So, maybe make a little fun trip up there, grab some wood, maybe stop at the Krenov School and see what's cool stuff is happening there. And,
Y'all need any Travishers?
Yeah. Well, hey, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Bring a bag of goodies too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just like I said, we've talked privately. It's a slippery slope. You're going to go from chairmaker to toolmaker real quick.
Real quick. Well, my cousin's an engineer and pretty good with drafting and stuff, and so I've been leaning on him and being like, "Hey, could you do this? Can you do that? Can you?" And so I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I wonder if in the future I could commandeer him a little more and be like, hey, let's start making more tools, because I've got some other stuff in mind.
Well, I was going to ask you. Yeah. So, do you have plans for more tools? Sounds like you do.
Yeah, there's some things, just some simple ones, nothing that's like real unique, but like a chairmaker's sliding bevel or T-bevel. One that, how some, like, especially because the way I drill with the bit and brace, if your bevel's too long, you always knock it off the chair as you're spinning around. Yeah. And so I have this one that I made that's only about 3.5-4 inches tall, and it's just perfect because it fits right up to your bit. And I carved the bottom of it so that it has kind of a point, so that the blade itself references a lot closer to the seat, so you can get a more accurate location, especially if you're using it for like bringing in the twist on the backside of a chair with some posts or whatever. So something like that, like a little bevel would be cool, like a nice high quality with a nice mechanism on it that makes it easier for adjusting to your gauge. And then the other one is the next one that I'm messing with is a different radius on this Travisher. So I have one that I made a while ago that's got a 20-inch radius. This one's 4 1/4, and the 20-inch radius has proven to be pretty sweet. So you're not going to get, like, once you get into the back side of a seat where it gets much more concave and a sharper curve, you can't really get it in there. But for convex portions of the seat and seats that are relatively flat, it works really well. Because for years, what I've done is I've taken my Bog spoke shave and pulled the handles off of it, and then I use that to kind of hit the flat spots of the seat, and it worked great.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it works really well.
Thread, right?
Yeah, you can do that the same with the Veritas ones too. You can take the handles off.
I've never thought of that.
Yeah. No, it works really well. That's another one I saw Curtis doing, so give him the credit. But it works really well. But again, it's like that starts to kill your fingertips.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, maybe I could make another Travisher that would sort of take the place of that thing. And so like on this this Ember chair that we just did, that's got the seat's not quite as curved and not as quite as profiled. That works really well on that. And that 20-inch radius is almost flat. So it's like by the time you get done with it, there's hardly any scraping that needs to be done. I mean, it's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Interesting.
So that's the next one probably. Once I get through this batch of these Travishers, waiting on the blades to come, and then I got to do all the profiling and everything. But once I get through this batch, I'll probably zone in on the flatter radius a little bit and kind of dial in. That one still has. I still have to work on some comfort issues. The one that I've made, you may have seen it. It's the black one. It's kind of like a it almost has like a Japanese flair to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs a little bit of tweaking for the comfort, but it's pretty close. So that'll be the next one.
Well, cool. Well, you'll have to sell a chairmaker set. You know the
Oh, the whole bundle deal. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you partner with some guy who makes jigs for.
There you go.
I mean, it's your chair in a box.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what we do. We partner, and then we get Blake with his production capacity to just make, and we just sell a whole kit. It's got all the tools, everything you need in there.
Yep.
Exactly.
Everything but the general skill.
Right. Yeah.
Well. Anyway, well that's that. Now, what are you going to do to promote the Travisher? Of course, we appreciate you coming on our show.
Besides
but,
yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of that's probably where I don't invest really any effort. All this stuff is like promotion. I mean, other than doing like Instagram, it's that side of stuff, like the marketing, advertising, like it's just completely foreign to me. I don't know anything about that. So I do have a friend who's that's not his job, but he's kind of in that realm. So he's helping me with it a little bit. I've been going up and down the coast, and I give little talks on woodworking, different guilds and whatnot, and people that invite me out, and I come do demos. And I was just up in Petaluma at a woodworking school, and I did a little continuous arm demo and talked about chairs. And so it's been nice to be able to bring these with me. And then any of the craft fairs, the farmers markets, wherever I go, I bring them with me. And just kind of, sometimes I'll have a little chunk of wood and let people play with them a little bit, give it a try, see what they think. But I probably do need to invest a little more into getting this thing out there. But there'll be more Instagram videos coming on it. And
Well, I was thinking there's going to be another Handworks. We need to find some way to get you into the next Handworks or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I've considered doing stuff like that. What's the that's the Amana, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the barn.
Yeah.
But
I missed out last time, but
it's a really cool event. We were there last time. I don't know when the next one is. It hasn't been announced, right?
No. So I doubt it's happening. Well, you never can tell, but we'll see.
I doubt this year.
I doubt this year, just because I haven't heard anything yet, and they usually have it over Labor Day weekend. So it's
Yeah,
it seems like far away, but it's really not. It's going to plan something, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, the Texas, what is it? Texas Woodworking Festival. Yeah. That's another big one too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah, it's pretty good. I've gone back and forth about whether having a booth there myself, just because I think Blake's been pretty successful, but he's selling classes and stuff. I'm not sure how many chair makers or people that would be interested in buying chair making tools are actually there. Yeah. I think it's more general woodworking, but you never know. I mean, I just say that, and you never know. So
I mean, not to say
really considering doing this, and I think Mark is considering doing it too. So
I mean, Mark's
considering doing it
at Handworks was that way. I mean, it was it was minimal, but it was a ton of exposure.
Yeah.
And that's really what you want. You want to, get people to touch, try, see,
right.
Because I think you've got a big reach into chair makers that are established and classes that are being performed. But there's some people out there that don't have those opportunities, but have heard about it and would want to check it out. That's the big thing about those.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same concept as like butts and seats for cars, right? It's just
Absolutely.
tool in hand. Yeah.
Yeah, tool in hand.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but to answer your question, Jason, yeah, I'm seriously considering doing something.
Mm.
It's in September this year.
Well, maybe we need to split a booth or something then.
Yeah,
go.
yeah, or
You know?
yeah, at least I'd be happy to do that. Booths are pretty inexpensive to
Oh, are they?
begin with,
Okay.
but it would be fun to split a booth, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I need to look into that because some of these that's been a little bit of a hurdle for, not necessarily a hurdle, but you look at some of these like these fairs and whatnot, and sometimes it's like $1,500 to just have a 10x10 and for 3-4 days, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want if I can drop $1,500 for a booth on that, So, but if they're relatively inexpensive, then and I'll just go stay with Blake. So
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll just
you got
couch surf
that,
at Blake's.
for sure. And Austin's a good dude. I mean,
So tell us about some of the classes you teach, just to switch gears here.
Yeah.
Need to promote all your
Yeah, absolutely.
things. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I've got a bunch of stuff. I tried to get a variety of classes going this year. I've got a few coming up. I'm doing it should be pretty interesting. We'll see. I've never taught this one. It's what I call the Albion bench.
I was
It's like
that was on my list to ask you
Okay.
specifically about, because I saw that and I went, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I found years ago being in California is that I'm guessing because it's California, it's the West Coast, is that people really like contemporary stylings out here. I think it's just the nature of the beast. And so I kind of realized like, well, I probably should take some of these and make my own. And so that was one of the endeavors, my first endeavors into designing stuff like that. And it's pretty fun. There's some tricky stuff, like the tops of the legs are actually offset turnings. So the tenon is offset a little bit to be able to give this nice little shadow break at this big bevel at the edge of the seat. So and then one of the things that's tricky is if you look at that chair, the stretcher system is like 5/8 of an inch from the bottom of the seat. So drilling that gets you have to get creative. And then assembly.
Yeah.
Assembly. There's no way to flex those things.
Exactly.
Right. So you kind of everything has to kind of like fit in just kind of all at once.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun one. I've got a continuous armchair high chair class in May, and then I've got another one in May. Unfortunately, I need to get my act together with my shop, but I have to shut down for the summer because it is so blasted hot in there, and I have no AC and and it's completely uninsulated. So up here in Northern California, at least where we are, if it would be different if I was out in San Francisco on the coast, but where I am, my shop will easily get over 110 in the summertime. And it's
gosh.
Yeah, it's dry heat, so it's not like back east, but still 110 is like, so, you can't
It's still
exactly
hot. Yeah.
Hey, come out to my shop and it's
sweat to the oldies.
Yeah, exactly. So I shut down for the summer, but I've got more classes up on my website, same website, fallinintofibers.com. You can click the class link there, and it'll pull up the schedule and everything. I've got more this fall, but yeah. Got classes going. I'm trying to think. I've got the Velda class. I've got a Velda class going in May. May is going to be a really busy month. I'll be teaching that chair, so that'll be the first time I've taught that chair. So that'll be really interesting. I'm sure there's going to be a couple of hiccups here and there, but
it's a big chair.
It is a huge chair. It's a huge chair. It's So it'll be an endeavor.
Yeah, I got one that I made, and then I decided I made it in a class, and so they were selling wood for it because they had some air dried walnut and butternut and stuff like that. So I picked up stuff to make another one, and I never did because I was like, this is a big chair.
Yeah, it's a huge chair. It's huge. Did you were you going to bend the crest, or how were you going to tackle the crest on that thing?
Yeah, just bend it. Yeah,
with air dried lumber?
Yeah, air dried walnut. Yeah.
You do like a bending strap or anything, or you just steam it and go?
Yeah, when we did it in class, they just steamed it and go, but I would use a bean strap if I was
kidding. Okay.
doing it. Yeah.
Okay. I did this.
So what are you doing? Are you just cutting it out or laminating it or what?
Well, typically I like to use the green stuff. So like if
Yep.
it's going to be a painted, I'll just use red oak or whatever.
Yeah.
But for like this student friend of mine that's making one right now, we just veneered it and laminated it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, the walnut that we have is doesn't seem to be as high quality as you guys have back east. So I was just a little leery that we'd be able to bend it. I guess we could have tried, but I just thought, nah, let's just veneer it and glue it, and it came out fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You might want to soak it for a week too.
Yeah. Well, I've been meaning to dive into that because I think Pete Galbert's got a whole like a series maybe, or at least some a series of blog posts on bending air dried material.
Yeah, or kiln dried. I've done,
or kiln dried even, yeah.
Yeah, I've done a balloon back out of kiln dried red oak.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So soaked it for I soaked it for at least a week, maybe 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then and then well basically I cut everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, purists are gonna hate me, but you know how that balloon back, it's D-shaped, the actual balloon back.
Yeah.
So to make the D shape, I just ran it through the router table.
There you go.
And then once I had the D shape, I just soaked it for, like I said, left it in at least a week, and then I steamed it for like 2 hours.
Wow.
And I bent 3, and only one of them broke.
No kidding. Okay.
Yep.
I would have never have thought you could get a balloon back out of, especially out of red oak. But
yeah, now this
impressive.
was with straps and everything, and
Oh, okay.
the form, and the winch and the whole 9 yards,
like Marcel style, then with the crank and winch, and
yeah.
Okay.
But consider the 30% loss. There's risk. There's risk involved.
Yeah.
Success, yes, but risk also.
Yeah, there's risk also. But I mean, still, you're talking kiln dried red oak, so.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. Now I think Bern Chanley, he uses kiln dried walnut all the time.
Wow.
On his stuff. Yeah.
I guess I need to get with the times here. I probably should look into this stuff, considering where I live, California. We pretty much have no green trees that are viable for, at least for this type of chair making.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems to work, but like I said, you're going to have a little higher failure rate, but as long as you're good with that.
Yeah.
And
red oak's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. So so tell us a little bit about your shop. Any changes since we last talked? You mentioned you need AC, but besides that.
Besides that.
Maybe 2. I do need to talk to an HVAC guy and see, is there a way to keep it, because I'd hate to insulate it and to put paneling up, because it would kind of ruin some of the ambiance that's in there. And so I need to see if somebody could get an AC that would actually keep up with it, but I doubt it.
You got to insulate it if you're going to AC it.
What you could do is you could just put walls up, insulate those walls, and then put framing on the outside of those walls, so it looks like
right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
like a triple wall.
Your inside just to look pretty.
Right.
You're in California. There's got to be a couple of retired set designers around you somewhere.
There you go.
Make it look right, Hollywood style.
Yeah,
but be functional at the same time. That's important.
Yeah. Well, the real goal, if I could have it my way, would be to just move to the coast. That's what I'd love. I'd love to be on the coast.
Sure.
But
natural air conditioning. Sure.
Mm-hmm. But coastal property in California is a bit pricey. So.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not really been any changes to the shop. Last year, I blew out a wall and expanded a little bit with the goal of inviting other chair makers out so that we could have larger classes to kind of make it worth their while. I still have to finish that. One thing after another, and next thing you know, you've just got another wall with no paneling and no insulation on it. And I'll get to that probably in another year.
Sure.
Finish it out. But nothing too crazy in the shop.
Well, cool. Well, let me know when you get AC, and I'll come out and visit.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, now is the time to come.
I know.
Springtime in California, especially where we are, is stunningly beautiful. We live up in the foothills, and it's so beautiful. Everything's just green and lush, and it's perfect. Right now we're in the middle of a rainstorm, but you're talking 60s, 70s, just absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, do y'all get cold in doesn't like San Francisco get real cold in like June or July or something like that?
It can get pretty cold, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know, cold for a California boy, so like 50 degrees, like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
I-
cold for us in Texas.
Well,
Comfy
that's
for
true
us
for you Texans.
the
yeah.
coast.
nor'easters.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
You're wearing
Yeah.
shorts at 50.
I know,
Yeah.
right? That's what I always feel like, such a wuss, because I'll see these Instagram posts of people in the winter back in Maine or wherever, and then you know it's like 55 in my shop, and I've got gloves and a beanie and like 3 layers. And I'm like, man, you're such a wuss.
And I was walking to work in January, and guys I work with are like, "My God!" And I'm like, "I wore a sweatshirt and it's 25. Like it's fine. It's fine."
Yeah, get used to it.
Yeah.
yeah. You get used to it.
I took the garbage out in shorts today, and it was 45 degrees. Come on now.
Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, is there anything else you do outside of woodworking and taking care of the property?
Yeah, I take care of the property. I do. I pick up little odd jobs here and there when I need to. You know, this whole being a chair maker can be a difficult endeavor. You know,
Yes.
finding students and finding orders and stuff like that. And so this is still kind of in the growing process. So I pick up little jobs here and there, doing kind of carpentry work and you know, whatever. Kind of a jack of all trades. So I'll do just about anything when it needs to be done. But yeah, I try to stay in the shop as much as I can and plug away. And that's kind of, you know, one of the things about making these Travishers is that the nice little income that I don't have to be, you know, traveling down to the valley to go, you know, put on a solar panels on a rooftop in the middle of Modesto in the summer or whatever it may be, like, you know, which can get hot. You know?
Yes,
But-
I imagine so.
Mhm.
Well, more proud to you with the Travishers, and yeah, I love your Instagram videos. By the way, just
Oh, thank you.
absolutely
Really well
fantastic.
done.
Very, very well done.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. No, I've been trying to. That's
You need to start establishing that YouTube presence. I know you got a
Yeah.
YouTube channel, but
I know. That's on the list. That has to be done. You know, like
Yeah.
that's where I've got to go with it next. You know, there's not really any chair makers per se doing that on there. I mean, Curtis has his video series, and I found a couple other things, but there's not really anybody even doing that. So I thought, man, I need to actually invest some time, put out some fun videos, and I'm gonna have to anyway, because with the Travisher, so I'm gonna do a little video series on sharpening the blade, how to use the tool, and a couple of different things associated with the Travisher itself. So maybe I'll use that as kind of my foot in the door to actually start spending time and making those videos. But yeah, you know, I've kind of accepted that, like, okay, this is the world we live in. Like, you've got to invest into this Instagram, you've got to invest into the YouTube, you got to just do it, you know. Even though
Yeah.
it's not exactly what I want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
too bad, you know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I haven't. I got the stuff, but I don't invest as much time as I should. So
Yeah.
anyway, which
That's-
you know,
it's
I
getting
didn't.
easier.
You know, case in point today when I described my new jig, I didn't even mention I put a reel out there on Instagram showing it. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you made it this far during the podcast, go out there and check out that reel. So
There you go.
with
Yeah.
that, let's move on to our fortnightly beer choices. So as we're recording this, St. Patrick's Day is
Mhm.
sending on us.
Pending.
So I am drinking, above all things, not Guinness,
Oh boy.
but St. Arnold's Irish Hello.
Mm.
So it is their stout. It's an easy drinking dry stout, and I must say it is an easy drinking dry stout, and it's not bad. It's more of a, it's not a nitro stout. It's more, you know, just a regular stout. It has a little bit of a chocolate flavor, but it's not bad. It's only like 4% alcohol, so real
It's a play
easy.
on the Irish goodbye, which is
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
not saying anything and leaving.
Leave it.
Exactly.
This is the Irish hello. All right.
Exactly. So, Sean, what are you drinking?
So we've got a bit of a theme coming up here, but I'm the first, so I get to say Dogfish Head. I just saw this in honestly Kroger grocery store, you know, and they had a Dogfish Head Deadhead Juicy Pale Ale. So it's got like a traditional, you know, Deadhead blue, white, red skull, like and I was like, what the hell is this? I've never seen this before. And it's a really good, I don't know, it's not even a collaboration, it's just something that they put out. It's a really nice, soft, kind of juicy, as described. Pale ale, not heavy pale ale. It comes in at like 5.4%. It's very, very good though. Very, very tasty.
Yep.
Brian, how about you?
Yeah, it's like Sean alluded to. This podcast is brought to you by Dogfish Head. I am also drinking a Dogfish, but the 60-minute IPA, which is it's hard to go wrong with it. It's really good.
It is.
It is. The 120 is too strong for me, but the 60 is right on the mark.
Do you know Giami's trick?
He mixes the two, right?
Well, no, 60 and 90.
60 and 90. That's right.
It makes technically 75.
75, yeah.
And so it's got a little bit of sweet, a little bit of cloy. It's like right in the middle. But yeah, no, you can't go wrong with this.
Yeah, it's a great choice, and it's easy. Like where I live, it's easily found. So
it's kind of like Mark's Parkside Criminal mix.
It is.
Yes, the official brew of Mana. Yeah. Jason, how about you?
Well, I'll give you, I don't have anything right now, but I'll give you a couple. One for St. Patrick's. If you like stouts, one of my favorites, it's North Coast Brewery, which is, I think, they're somewhere up here they're obviously in Northern California. I think up towards Fort Bragg. They have an old number 38 stout. Really nice. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. I think I've heard of North Coast Brewery, but I'll look for it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They make some nice stuff. They have a Scrimshaw, which is like kind of a Pilsner. Or not, I don't remember if it was a Pilsner or if it was like a Kolsch, but kind of a lighter wheat. But the one that I found that I really enjoy, and I think if I remember correctly, Sean, you like sours.
I do.
Another North Coast is their cherry tart Biesenweiss or something like that. I just found it the other day, and it is very lovely. It's just the right amount of like maltiness and sweetness and sourness. It's because some sours you get, that just like it's like drinking vinegar, and you kind of
punchy.
I could have like half of one of those, but this one is really nice. So another North Coast.
Excellent. Cherry tart. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, my wife, I give her a taste of it, that she had never had before, and there was a couple sours she's like, ooh, because it's approaching vinegar for sure.
Right. Right.
But no, yeah, cherry has because you get that dark fruit. In there,
yeah, really good, really good.
Well, with that, where can folks find you on the interwebs and the place to buy the Element Travisher?
Yeah. So basically, my website, followingthefibers.com. You can go to the store link there and find the Travisher if you would like to pick one up. There is my schedule for classes as well. I also have a bunch of photos and things of the chairs and the work that I do, the chairs that I make. I also have a newsletter. I've been trying to be a little bit better about the newsletter.
I noticed that when I logged on here, it said newsletter. I went, was this here before? But I signed up.
No, it wasn't. It was not there. And I'm trying to be more committed to the newsletter. Okay. I figure, at the very least, this traveling and stuff that I do with these talks and everything, that gives me some content. So try to put updates on there if I'm doing changes to the classes or what I'm doing in traveling, what I'm making, that kind of stuff. I promise there will be no spammery and junk. I can't stand that. So you'll never get that from me. It'll be substantive. Well, maybe it'll be substantive. I guess that's depending on what you think is. But so the Instagram profile is kind of where all the main happenings are going on. I do a lot of fun videos, been doing kind of like tutorials, and sometimes it's just some kind of glamour shots with a little bit of music. But the Instagram is a good place to go. You can DM me. You can get all my contact info there through the website. So
you just need to re-upload all those to YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I started doing some of that, and then I ran into the problem of the music copyright. So they don't have the same licensing agreements on YouTube.
Right.
So
you're gonna strip the music and put some Apple safe music in there or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think they have programs that you can download like all this copyright free music.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So I need to do that. Start putting those up, and then the YouTube. So I will be investing time into the YouTube channel. So you can go there. That's following the fibers. Same thing. You can find me there.
Very cool.
All right. Well, Brian, why don't you give us a little feedback we've had?
All right. So regarding episode 540, with Andy Klein, which was a fantastic episode, by the way.
Thank you.
Be sure to go back and look at that, listen to that. We have one bit of feedback here from Benjamin Allen of Benjamin Allen Furniture, who, by the way, just finished a beautiful hand-carved walnut cabinet. That's gorgeous. But Ben's feedback here is, this was an excellent episode. I was familiar with Andy's twin screw vise, but had no idea he made all sorts of interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very true. There's a lot of secret sauce in that episode.
Andy's a smart guy.
Yeah, and motivated.
Yeah.
So if you, dear listener, would like to leave us some feedback, you can do it on the MWA podcast Instagram. You could do it on anywhere Instagrams, actually. YouTube, shortly. You'll be able to leave it on whatever your podcast device of choice is, whether it's be iTunes, Spotify, et cetera. We'd be happy to hear what you have to say.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. I did mention that. I should have done that top of the show. We are putting our podcast now on YouTube. So we do actually have a channel out there that has like 600 subscribers. So
wow.
And there was like some
really
activity
serious
on that
it.
channel within the last 30 days. And I'm like, okay, nothing's been posted here in years. So, but it is audio only. We're not going to do the video just yet. Maybe by the end of the year, we'll see where we are.
New Patreon tier.
Patreon tier. Yes. Anyway, but thanks everyone so much for listening. And thank you, Jason, for being a part of the show, and good luck.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great talking to you guys.
You as well.
And that just about wraps it up for this show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on the podcatcher of your choice. Just search for the Modern Woodworkers Association. And while you're there, please leave us a review. You can follow us on Instagram at MWA_podcast. And if you'd like to support the podcast, go over to patreon.com/MWA podcast. But the best thing you can do is tell a friend. Word of mouth goes a long way in sharing our discussion.